What's going on, guys? What's going on, girls? Sal here. We're going to be breaking down something different. We got two games on Saturday. I mentioned in the first look lineup briefly why we kind of only saw two 4 o'clock games. We got two games on Saturday. Not complaining about it. We're going to have some Saturday football for the next couple of weeks. Not great games, Houston and the Jets, and then you get Cleveland and Denver. So definitely not great games, but it's football, right? Like I mentioned in my blog. If you haven't checked out my blog, description below, you can check that out. People complaining about some of these island games, Thursday night games being terrible. People want that. They crave for that in like the summer. So enjoy it while it's here, right? We got two games on Saturday, another game, full weekend of football now. We got the bowl game starting. We got Sunday, of course, Monday night. It's just going to be a great week of football. So enjoy it while it lasts. That's what all I'm saying. So Saturday football, right? They got a tournament, $150,000. Pretty decent prize pool, right? If you want to play in this tournament, obviously you can play cash game lineups. We're going to take a first look at this Saturday slate. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. If you don't mind hitting subscribe and the like button, I greatly appreciate it. If you hit subscribe, or if you're already subscribed, there's a contest. Who will score the most fantasy DraftKings points at the wide receiver position during Sunday's main slate? So not Sunday Night Football, just the main slate. You have to be a subscriber. Drop that in the comments below or any other video from this week. You'll be entered into it if you pick the right person. $20 PayPal or Venmo. So you can get entered into that. I appreciate it. There's some other things in the description you can check out, like the blog. So welcome to the channel. If you've already been a subscriber, welcome back. Let's break down this Saturday slate real quick. So like I said, not great options here, right? We get the Jets in Houston at 4 o'clock, and then we get the late night game. So nowhere near high-flying offenses. But I think Denver and Cleveland is an interesting game because we do have two offenses that can move the ball with some playmakers, right? So quarterback, we don't know. Sam Darnold got injured. He came back into the game. Maybe he'll be playing. I want to try something different, and I'm going to try this on my first looks. Quarterbacks I like to pay down for usually, right? I want to see what happens if we try and jam in the quarterback last. So like I do with defenses, I just put in a cheap defense, and I'm going to test it out in this little two-game slate. But you put in the defense last, just get all the players that you need because defense is so variant that you can get 10 points from any defense, really, depending on if they get a pick six or a fluky sack, fumble, punt return, whatever it might be. So let's try and plug them in last, but we'll talk about them, right? So Watson, I had a lot of him this past week in tournaments, kind of burned me. Not totally burning you at 18 points, but if you have a lot of him, it is going to burn you based on what some of the other guys did, especially in that game with Andrew Luck going for 30 points. He's a good play, though, against the Jets. He should be the most expensive guy. Jets giving it up a lot. On the road, though, does that scare me for Watson? A guy having to come to New York where it's going to be cold seems like it might be a messy game. It's based on this rain. Might stay away from that, but it is a 4:30 game, not a night game, so it shouldn't be as cold. Baker Mayfield against Denver. Now, Denver has been pretty good, right? But their two top cornerbacks are out. Chris Harris is out for the year, and then their other outside quarterback is also out. Forget his name, but they're all out for the year. That helps Baker Mayfield. Baker on the road is something that he has been able to manage, right? In Houston, in Cincinnati, still putting up 20 points. Coming off a really bad game, should see suppressed ownership. Might be the guy that I go for because Denver's defense is good. Like, a lot of people are going to shy away from it. But with Chris Harris Jr. out, their other top cornerback out, opens up a lot. They still get great pressure, so that's the defense you might want to target in this kind of matchup. Fantasy defenses, you want guys that get pressure. They're going to get sacks. They can get in the tip balls in the face of the quarterback, force him to throw interceptions, turnovers, fumble, sack fumble. That leads to points for the defense, especially if they can return it for 6. Case Keenum, a guy that I don't want at all, even though he's at home, makes it a little bit better. He's definitely cheaper at $5,400, going up against the Browns secondary, which has been pretty decent, but also has been exposed this year. Keenum, though, not really a guy who's going to go for 3 touchdowns anymore, like he did last year in Minnesota. Shout out Minnesota for paying Kirk Cousins $84 million, and the guy can't even get you as many wins as he got last year, having Case Keenum as your quarterback. But really, like we said, he's only done it once this year. Week 1, he went for 3 touchdowns against Seattle. I don't think he does that this week, but who knows? It's kind of a short week we have to keep in mind as well, a day shorter. Like I said, Sam Darnold at the cheapest price might be a guy you just jam in there. But again, is he even going to see 15 points in a game? We've seen it rarely over the past month of the season, month or two of the season. Yes, he can come alive. No, he does not have a good matchup, although he is at home. I think Baker and Deshaun are obviously the guys to go for, but they're going to be the most expensive owned. So on a short slate, that's the thing. 2-game slates, I've never played one. I played the 3-game Thanksgiving slate. Actually, that's a lie. Long ago, I used to play like the Monday, Thursday slates, but I just don't like those at all. I'd rather play the 1-game slates, which might not be the right way to approach it, but they're more fun to me. These 2-game slates are just so hard because a lot of people are going to have the same players, and if you really like 1-game slates, if you don't have that one player, it's going to be hard to cash at all. So let's see what we got. Running back, Nick Chubb's been absolutely killing it. I have him in my standard league. He's been doing great. Even in weeks when it seems like he's not doing good, he still goes for 18 points, right? He was bottled up all game, came out in the second half, got like 40 yards and a touchdown for you, caught a couple of balls, this is very encouraging that we're seeing him getting used in the passing game in a game that was pretty close and neutral the whole time, right? Even leading for most of the game, the Browns. We got Lamar Miller, who continues to have a pretty decent season. Got in the end zone again to salvage a low performance week against Indy. But he's having a decent season over the past month of the year. On the road against the Jets, not a spot I really want to target him. Philip Lindsay's like the guy of the hour, right? He's the guy of the past 2 months. He's the guy that people keep saying his yards per touch is like the highest in the league. Why do people draft Saquon second? You drafted Saquon second because he's going to go for over 2,000 total yards. And yes, you're 5-8, but you're only 5-8 probably because of Saquon. So that's why. That's my defense for the Penn State guy. But Philip Lindsay's an absolute monster. Getting it done, though, on limited touches because they still got these guys, if we want to go find them. So they still got these guys lurking around back there. Booker getting on, I think, the field for like 10% of the snaps. He caught 2 balls last week. And you get Freeman, who's slowly getting less and less work each week out there. Like we saw 12 the week before, 6 this past week. But he's still on the field for about 15 to 20% of the snaps. So a guy like Lindsay should see the majority of the work, but based on his size and all this, I think he can run in between the tackles fine. But he's only really on the field for 60 to 65% of the snaps out there, but he's still getting the work done, right? He's getting in the end zone. He's getting the goal line type work as well, which is very interesting now that Freeman is healthy and back as well as Booker. Good matchup, though, against Cleveland, right? We've seen running backs tear apart Cleveland. Last week, Christian McCaffrey had it. I think this is a guy you have to have. I don't think this is a spot to go against the field and try and fade him. I think that's a guy that you kind of have to have in this situation. I think you pay up for the 2 most expensive backs, right? Now, there's obviously the chance that a guy like McGuire, we can see McGuire, who has a terrible matchup, but this is what he did the last time out, right? 17 points. Crowell got hurt. We'll have to monitor Crowell, but McGuire's a guy who can be a part of their future. He's definitely a great type of running back. He's an interesting candidate at only $4,000 because the price just falls off here to do something well. Haven't seen much of David Johnson the past couple of weeks, or Duke Johnson thought we might. Alfred Blue, always a guy to steal some carries. He got in the end zone. But I think running back's pretty straightforward, right? I think it's going to be McGuire and these 3 guys, or these 2 guys for me, and then I'm going to move over to some other positions. Let's just jump to tight end before we go to receiver because that's probably where the most fantasy goodness is at receiver outside of these 2 running backs. Njoku's the safe guy, right? Safe guy meaning like you know what you're probably going to get from him. But compared to the beginning of the year, they changed that offense up, and it's kind of faded out Njoku a little bit. So it is concerning at his high price. Probably a guy that I'll try and go down at. We saw Griffin have a pretty good game. He caught 5 balls for 80 yards, one of the highest scoring tight ends of the week, in a week where we saw a lot of high scoring tight ends. But definitely an under-the-radar guy who was at minimum price of $2,500 last week. The tight ends, though, for Houston, there's just a couple of them, and they all get the run out there, right? We see Jordan Thomas continue to get some work out there. So it's kind of where do you really want to go? I think down here, you're really choosing, I mean, we see the rookie Herndon. Rookies usually aren't supposed to do good, but he's having a pretty decent year, right? I mean, he's catching the ball in like every single game that he plays in, getting in the end zone a couple of times. Herndon's not a guy that I shy away from because Houston is one of the bottom 5 teams against the tight end. Let's plug Herndon in there. I think his price is really good at $3,000. I don't like... Now, Denver and Houston are both really bad against the tight end, so you can go Njoku if you want. He's probably a safer play. But if I want to try and get a little bit contrarian on a 2-game slate where I'm going to be playing the 2 most expensive running backs, I'll take Herndon, who's the guy who's been catching at least a ball each week, getting in the end zone, getting red zone looks. Might be their best weapon out there right now. Maybe McGuire, you can argue. So that's where I'll go. And at defense, I mean, it depends where you want to go. You get Sam Darnold at home against the Texans defense that gets pressure. That looks pretty good. You get the rookie Baker on the road who is prone to make mistakes. He likes to throw the ball downfield against the Broncos defense that gets pressure. That looks pretty good. You're probably going to be contrarian paying up. I tend to want to go for the Broncos defense, but I also tend to kind of want to play Baker, right? So let's do this. Let's go Broncos defense. That'll pair you with Philip Lindsay for some positive correlation. And then let's fill out these other spots and see if we can get up here. Probably going to try and get up to Houston with Deshaun Watson. But again, these are the slates where you're going to have to find maybe a guy at wide receiver who's a little bit of a different play. Wide receiver. We get Hopkins, incredible matchup. He's going to be on an island game on Saturday at 4. Maybe not an island game, there's 2 games. But just a primetime game. Definitely a lot of people are going to have their eyes on it. Continues to get the targets. It was just a weird week all around. I was high on Hopkins. He's a guy I want to play every single week. If we can fit him in this lineup, I really don't think that we can unless we find some really low value at wide receiver. Landry came alive last week, took a couple touchdowns to the house, one on a rushing one, and then he caught a deep ball. Limited targets, though, so, I mean, if this doesn't happen, which it's not likely to keep up if this is all he's going to get, it's scary. He's a guy that I'll probably fade because people are going to see his last 2 weeks and go, yeah, I want to play him, especially casual players that are like, oh, there's Saturday games, let's throw some money on it. Hopkins, though, on the flip side, we haven't seen him explode, right? We haven't seen him explode for a month. I think in this matchup, that explosion is coming. I just really hope we can fit him. I already know, I said I wanted to fit in Watson last, but I just want to see what our pricing is because now that we got Hopkins, I kind of want to pair him with Watson. In this game, we're running it back with Herndon. If you want to game stack, smaller game samples, it'll definitely help to game stack. It probably helps to go full-on game and hope that one of these goes really high scoring, like this one goes for 50 points and this one only goes for 25, which is probably possible. And then you're taking home all the money if you play every player from these games, basically. 4,700, it's not terrible, right? It's not terrible based on some of the things that we have at our disposal here, right? Like, I like this a lot because I'm fine not playing Landry. I'm also fine not playing Sutton. I mentioned this. I was totally off of Sutton. Yes, he was 4,500. Yes, Sanders got hurt. Yes, he was, in theory, the number one wide receiver out there. But I don't think he's ready to be a number one wide receiver. I've said this many of times. This has been the only game that he's actually looked impressive, and it all really came on a long touchdown pass, which, again, it was an incredible touchdown catch, but it's not like his targets have gone up with Sanders out. The guy whose targets are going to go up is Penn State's own Deshaun Hamilton. Came right in, saw 9 targets. Sanders' workload, some short balls, of course, but he caught the majority of them. 7 out of 9, 47 yards, got in the end zone late. He's a guy that I want to go right back to. I think he'll be one of the highest owned guys due to his low price and a lot of people seeing that he did this last week. But I don't think this is a fluke, right? I don't think 9 targets is a fluke at all. I think in this offense where Sanders was getting double-digit targets, I think 7 to 10 targets is realistic out of Hamilton in the slot. Short targets, he's a guy who's ranked like literally exploding in all charts in terms of projections, in terms of his tangibles. Should be a good NFL player. We'll plug Hamilton in as well. So now you got $4,800, and there's a couple of things you could do here, right? You can go back to the flex options. We can see if Kiki plays, he's definitely interesting. That'll give you your whole kind of Texans stack running it back with Herndon. He's only $4,800. He's going to be questionable. He's inactive for Sunday. We'll see if he comes back. And he has a good matchup in the slot, a really juicy matchup in the slot, actually. Demaryius Thomas, I just think he's sort of a bum who can still get it done maybe in the red zone where he caught these 2 touchdowns, but I think he's sort of a bum. I don't think anybody's going to play him, though, based off his last 2 weeks and based off of what else is in this price range, especially with Kiki. I feel like these 2 guys will be lower owned. If you want to go for a spot, what did Tim Patrick do last week? He had 10 targets. He caught for 85. So Tim Patrick was kind of that odd man out. He's on the other side now. And it seemed like he was the guy to get some work going. So at 4,100 instead of Sutton, you could play somebody like Patrick. Not opposed to that. Robbie Anderson against Houston. So Robbie Anderson's a guy, if Josh McCown is starting, I kind of want to play Anderson. It kills me that he scored a touchdown last week because people are going to be on him. But I would have loved to play Anderson as a way to be contrarian. If you want to really be contrarian, a way to go contrarian is to do this. Then you have 5,800 and you can do this. That'll give you a lot of contrarian. So that'll make you really contrarian. If you're going to play 2 tight ends on this slate and still have $1,000 on the table, look, it's not smart, but if you want to win $150,000, you can't put in the highest priced guys and expect to take that whole prize home, right? This is a way that you probably have one of the only people with this lineup, or limited people with this lineup. Because we can do this, right? We can go something like, and we can go any of these guys. Anderson, what did Callaway do last week? He came back down to earth after having a couple good weeks. We can do this, right? Like, we can do this type of lineup, but I guarantee you other people are going to have it because 3 top 4 running backs on the week, 3 of the 4 starting running backs on the week, probably the best wide receiver, the value wide receiver that everybody saw do good last week, the best highest priced quarterback. Then defenses are going to be pretty evenly distributed, I'd imagine, with only 4 teams, not really any of them being insanely highly priced. Yes, 3,600 is a lot, so maybe they'll be a little bit lower, and then the other ones will be around 30% owned, high 20s. Kiki, people might not be on him based off of him being injured and them seeing this. I think this is a good lineup. This is probably the lineup I lean to. What I would do, though, is I would put one of these running backs, the highest priced one, in the flex. So Chubb actually would go in my flex in case you need to pivot at the last second if you think Chubb's going to be higher owned than Landry, or you're like in second place and the guy in first in your head-to-head has Chubb, so you pivot to Landry there. So this is a lineup that I like, right? Just building this straight from scratch on a 2-game slate. I like this. I want to get Hopkins. Like, I want Hopkins. I need Hopkins after having a down week, after having an incredible matchup. Now he has another incredible matchup. Hasn't gone off in a month. You want to talk about due. This guy is due. But he's also an outstanding player who should get it done. Hamilton, I think he's going to take over that Sanders role. Maybe not so much as the deep threat, but the guy in the short and intermediate passes. I think he'll be definitely a great play again. I'm fine going Herndon here. I want Chubb here. Yes, he's on the road, but he has a good matchup against Denver, who is injured or is pretty banged up right now. Give me Watson as well. Yes, he's coming off a bad week, but the guy can get it done any single week, and he has a really good matchup against the Jets. The way to be contrarian in this type of game is to kind of do things other people won't. So I think people are going to do this exact same lineup. Leaving $800 on the table separates you a little bit. Not a lot of people are going to be able to stomach that. They're going to say, oh, I have $800 left. I'll come up to Sutton. Or, oh, I have $800 left. I'll come up to, you can't go anywhere there. In this type of lineup, they're going to do something, right? They're going to come up to Njoku here, and I'll stay square at Herndon, who can go for 15 points, and if Njoku gets 10, maybe that's where you get your edge. But if you want to be really contrarian, we've already showed it. You can fade one of these higher running backs who you don't think's in a good situation, maybe. Maybe not wanting to get both running backs from the same game. I could see you saying that. I'm not sure I had, like, any desire to fade Chubb, but you don't have to fade Chubb. You can come here, you can leave $1,000 on the table and start 2 tight ends. These are all options that are viable on a 2-game slate, maybe not so much a big slate, but when you're trying to get some sort of differentiation and still have a viable lineup that could win you some money, I think it's a good way to go. I think this is pretty straightforward with only 2 games. It's quicker than doing a 1-game showdown. That showdown slate should be out when you're watching this, the Thursday one, so check that one out. This one's going to come out as well today. Next week, I'm not going to be able to do the first look on Monday. I'm traveling to New York City for Christmas time. See the city at Christmas with my girlfriend. I'm going to be coming back Tuesday, so either Tuesday night, Wednesday, I'll be doing a first look later on, and the Thursday night video, and then we'll get into it on sort of a shorter week for us with the Saturday and the Thursday breakdown. But I appreciate you guys watching this. Again, check out the blog if you can. Check out Draft Dashboard. Again, we have all the players right here. Draft Dashboard, this is Saturday's game. You can put players in a player pool. You can see all their projections. You can see how good the system likes them. The projection tool likes Deshaun Watson a lot, even though he has a tougher matchup. It also likes Baker. It likes Case Keenum a lot, so that's something to look into. We didn't look into that. If you want to differentiate your lineup, just go off of one of these 2 guys at the top, right? Not a lot of people are going to touch Darnold at all. Not a lot of people are probably even going to touch Case Keenum. Case Keenum's at home against Cleveland. Could be a decent matchup for him. But again, you get projections, you get touch counts, you get all these things. You can put them into your watch players list over here just by clicking this target. And then you can build lineups from there. You can get access to my watch players list for 30 days for $1 in the link below. I put that out on Thursdays or Fridays, so it's basically like 30 players that I'm going to be playing in all types of tournaments, some way or another. And you can get access to that for $1 for 30 days. Check out the blog if you guys can. If you guys want to support me a little bit more, I really appreciate it if you can go over there, sign up for the blog. Trying to get this brand built a little bit more, you know. Trying to get my name out there in the DFS land, maybe try and get some writing gigs for some companies, and that's all thanks to you guys. So I appreciate all the subscribers, all the people watching this. I hope you have a great week. I wish you the best of luck on the Thursday slate, the Saturday slate. So interesting that we get a Saturday slate, but interesting and good. And then also on obviously the Sunday slate, we'll be back for the Thursday breakdown. Thank you guys. Enter that contest. Must be a subscriber. Most DK points for a wide receiver on Sunday's main slate. Who's it going to be? $20 PayPal, $20 Venmo. My name's Sal. Best of luck. Check out the description for all those things I talked about. Peace.